The evening sprawled silent and boundless along the slender rural lane. Ethan drove cautiously, his aged truck clattering softly with every dip in the roadway. In the rear seat, his daughters, Clara and Sophie, slumbered tranquilly, their gentle breaths warming the cabin. Clara's head leaned against her younger sister's shoulder, a scene of purity that tugged at Ethan's weary heart with affection. He had vowed to keep them secure, no matter how tough life grew. Ahead, the headlights cast light on something peculiar. A glossy black sedan stood still by the roadside, its warning lights flickering faintly. The hood was raised, and a faint wisp of smoke drifted into the night air. Ethan eased the truck to a slower pace, his brow furrowing. Something seemed amiss. As he neared, he spotted her. A woman slumped against the barrier, her refined gown ripped at the sleeve, blood gleaming on her arm. Ethan's guardian instinct flared. He pulled over swiftly, shifted into park, and grabbed the medical kit he always kept behind the seat. "Stay in the truck, girls," he said firmly yet kindly. His daughters stirred, their drowsy eyes tracking him as he stepped into the chilly night breeze. The woman glanced up as he approached, her face pale beneath the moonlight. Despite the weariness in her expression, there was something striking about her aura. She tried to speak, her voice quivering. "I called for aid, but no one arrived. You're not alone now," Ethan comforted, kneeling beside her. He opened the kit and pressed gauze gently to her injury. "You're hurt, but it's not too severe. Stay still. Okay." She winced at testing, but observed him closely. His hands were steady, strong, yet tender. The hands of a man accustomed to mending broken things, from motors to grazed knees. The quiet between them was filled only with night sounds, crickets, the faint hum of the truck's engine, the soft giggles of his girls inside. "Why pause for me?" she asked faintly. Most wouldn't. Ethan looked at her, his face calm but determined. "Because you needed aid. That's reason enough." When he finished dressing the wound, he helped her rise. She leaned on him, her pride yielding to the weight of her injury. He guided her carefully to the passenger side of his truck and opened the door. Inside, the girl's wide eyes watched her with innocent worry. Sophie whispered, "Daddy, will she be okay?" "She'll be fine," Ethan assured softly. The woman settled into the seat, clearly unaccustomed to the worn fabric and modest space, but thankful nonetheless. For a moment, she glanced at the two little girls, and then back at their father. Something stirred within her heart, something unfamiliar. As Ethan started the engine and pulled back onto the road toward the nearest clinic, the silence returned. Yet in that silence, something unspoken passed between them. The quiet realization that their lives had just shifted in a way none could yet grasp. The weeks following. That night felt oddly different for Ethan. Life at the farmhouse usually followed a steady rhythm, repairing fences, tending to the tractor, ensuring Clara and Sophie got to school on time. But ever since he had driven that injured stranger to the clinic, her presence lingered in surprising ways. Her name was Amelia Grant, a woman whose face graced magazines and corporate headlines, though Ethan hadn't recognized her that night. To him, she was simply someone who needed help. Yet to his daughters, she quickly became something more. Amelia visited often during her recovery, always arriving in sleek cars with drivers who seemed out of place on the dusty country lane. At first, Ethan tried to maintain distance. Gratitude was one thing, but he knew their worlds were vastly different. Still, each time she came, she stayed a bit longer, sipping tea in the kitchen, listening to the girls' tales of school, even chuckling when the family dog left muddy paw prints on her tailored coat. On one warm evening, as the sun sank low and bathed the fields in gold, another black car pulled up outside the farmhouse. Ethan wiped grime from his hands. Having just finished another battle with the stubborn tractor, his daughters squealed with joy, racing across the yard. "Miss Amelia!" they cried, throwing themselves into her arms as if she were already family. Amelia knelt, embracing them with a smile no boardroom had ever witnessed. When she stood, her eyes met Ethan's across the yard. Something gentler than wealth or power glowed in them. "You didn't have to come all this way," Ethan said, striding to meet her. his tone practical yet tinged with unease. "I wanted to," she replied. "The truth is, I've spent years surrounded by all that money can buy, cars, homes, respect, but none of it felt real. That night you stopped for me, I understood what I'd been missing." She glanced at the girls, their laughter rising into the twilight. This family, this sense of belonging. Ethan paused, wiping the last of the grime from his hands. "I don't have much to offer. You've already offered the most valuable thing," she said softly. "Kindness, safety, love." The words lingered between them, carried on the evening air. Clara and Sophie tugged at her hands, urging her to join their game of tag. She laughed and let herself be pulled into their circle, her heels sinking into the grass, as if she had always belonged there. Ethan stood on the porch, watching her run barefoot at the girl's insistence, the fading sunlight catching her hair. Something stirred within him then, a hope he had long buried. He had spent years believing his life would never change, that love and second chances were not for him. But watching Amelia laugh with his daughters, he realized the rescue on that lonely road had saved him too. It was no longer just chance. It was the start of a new life.